Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined, as per usual, by Mr. Harry Jobson.
Yes, now. Yes, I'm here.
I just realized what we should have done is we should have tried to do like a southern accent.
Yeah,
but I don't think I can get a closer. I don't even think I can get close to like Daniel Craig's accent in these movies, honestly.
Southern is really hard to do without coming across kind of racist.
Yeah, this week we are talking about Knives Out, and we're also going to talk about Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, which is a very clunky title. Like, some of these titles are very clunky.
Yeah, they are. Though.
And we're talking about this to tie into the release of Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out Mystery, which has technically come out. It is in cinemas in places, and I have seen it.
It's in select cinemas at the moment.
In select cinemas, yeah. Harry has not seen it.
No, but I'm more rural. I'm more regional than.
Yeah, you sort of. I mean, is there a cinema like? Because I know they're building a cinema near you, but is there like what is the closest cinema? Like, if you were to drive to your nearest cinema, how long would it take
myself. You? It says here though. It says it's about 40k away.
Fuck that.
Yeah. No. So like, I mean, the cinema opens in like 2 weeks here. So.
But anyway, so we're gonna talk about Knives Out for this week's episode. I've sort of talked about Rian Johnson before, but not with you, Harry. And if I recall, on a previous, it didn't stay in the final episode, but I think this was for the John Wick episode. I don't know how, but we somehow got onto a discussion of the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, with me, it's you never know how we get there. We just get there.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, you don't like those films.
No, I think they're shit. But that's just me. I think visually they look great, but I think
I don't hate them to the same. Actually, no, I do hate Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker's fucking terrible. But I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if we really talked about Rian Johnson rather than just the Star Wars films as like a whole.
And I could be wrong as well, but I think we maybe touched on a bit of Knives Out when we spoke about Clue.
Yeah, I think that sounds possible, yes. But yeah, so I remember when I saw the trailers for Knives Out when that came out. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I don't believe I saw it at the cinema at the time because I was overseas and I wasn't able to see it.
Yeah, I saw it retroactively on streaming.
Yeah, I definitely saw it at some point later. And I've seen it a couple times. But I remember it came out and was this huge thing. Like, everybody saw it. And everybody loved it. You know, I remember it came out and everyone said, "Oh, this was such a great film." You know, and it got rave reviews. Everybody sort of forgot about The Last Jedi and not liking The Last Jedi and thinking The Last Jedi is bad. And I think, to be honest, if we're going to talk about, because we're probably going to talk about Rian Johnson a bit, I think he's always been a very good filmmaker. I just think the problem is Disney didn't have a plan for that trilogy. And I think that's the issue. I think if they'd had a plan, it probably would have worked better.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if they'd just gotten one director to do all three, because J.J. Abrams directed 2 of them, and he might as well have just directed the 3rd one. Like,
I don't understand with I don't understand with these big studios and sort of their decision making when it comes to throwing in and out directors. Like, it's not going to completely throw off the direction in which they're going, but
yeah,
very rarely does it work. to sort of
And I
swap
think
in
the
a
thing
director.
is because Ryan Johnson kind of just did what he wanted with it because Disney didn't tell him, hey, you need to do, this, this, and this. He just sort of was like, well, I'll just do what I want with this thing because,
Yeah, yeah.
which is the problem because you can't really do that because it's like, not that I dislike a lot of the choices Ryan made with Last Jedi. It very much is. It's a clear, like, stark difference from the previous
Mm, yeah.
film.
It's
Um,
like completely tonally different.
yeah, exactly, and it's sort of not that it's sort of it wasn't. I mean, I like The Last Jedi, but there's also some big problems with it, and I sort of get a lot of the issues people have with it beyond the like, oh, there's women and that's like, fuck off, it's dumb. But I think giving the thing is, I think Ryan Johnson is very talented when he kind of has his own when he sort of comes up with something and he's not forced to. Because I mean, to sort of get into it, I really like these Knives Out films. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of at least and of at least Knives Out and Glass Onion from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I have my opinions on either one. I do think one is stronger than the other, and I also think that one is a lot more of an enjoyable, not enjoyable, but much more of like a continuously engaging film. I think
Yeah.
but like as we get into Knives Out, I think that Knives Out like is a phenomenal foundation set for a myth. Like, because we're dying for great mystery films. I think I've said it a few times. I love a good mystery. I love a who done it, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think these would fall under that sort of like mystery comedy area of cinema. Like there is definitely a comedy aspect. I think Chris Evans is so strong as like a not a lead, but definitely as a second man, like
Yeah.
supporting role. Like he relatively is the antagonist of the film, and I think they perfectly use that sort of. And this is during like peak Captain America. Like Chris Evans is poster boy of like goody goody, and they just use
Yeah.
that sort of charm that he has and flips it, and I think it works really well. And the tone is just like laid out from the get go, makes it a really enjoyable watch. Like I've never met someone who didn't like it, and I think that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, like that. That's it says a lot for a film if not that everyone loves it, but everyone can enjoy watching it without. And
Yeah.
some people
And
find a lot
mm,
stronger value.
mm. And it's also like it's an original new
Yeah.
idea, which I mean, I know it's like a murder mystery, and it's taking lots of elements and lots of tropes
Tropes, yeah.
for for the genre, but it's also like this isn't a new Poirot, or Miss Marple, or like it's a new detective character, like it's something new which audiences do want. um I
Mm.
think that the film really, I mean, yeah, to get into this first film specifically, I really, really like it. I think, and I mean, I think this really does show that Ryan Johnson is an outstanding director.
Mm.
He's a very outstanding director, and to be honest, he kind of always has been. Like, I mean, if you've seen Breaking Bad and the episodes of Breaking Bad he did, like, you know that he's a very good director. Like, I mean, he directed Ozymandias, which is like considered the best episode of Breaking Bad. So it's like you can't really say he's a bad director to sort of get right into it. And this is true of all these films, to be fair, but the cast for this first film is very, very stacked. Like, there's a lot of, yeah, big name talent in this film.
Yeah, I mean, look at the cast line is ridiculous. Like, because if we think, especially at the time at which what Knives Out came out, so Anna de Armas is on the up in this period of time. You've got Daniel Craig, who's coming off the back of being James fucking Bond. You've got
Mhm.
Chris Evans, who's Captain America, which is arguably like two of the biggest poster childs, one for England and one for America. And I mean, it's an ode to Daniel Craig's Southern accent. It is not only is it like obnoxiously hilarious, but it works. Like for some reason, it works really well with the tone that they set for the film. You got Catherine Langford, Christopher Plummer, I think Michael Shannon, Jamie Lee Curtis. The core cast of this film, it would have been. I reckon there would have been a lot of money sunk into that. Because again, look at the ticket that Daniel Craig and Chris Evans would be asking for. Like two huge names. In 2019, they were the biggest they have been in their career.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig, sort of post. I mean, there's still another James Bond film that hadn't come out at this point, but he was very much towards the tail end of being James Bond.
What was the last? No Time to Die. No Time to Die was still at like.
Yeah, that was. I mean, No Time to Die was meant to come out like beginning of 2020, like April 2020, and then was delayed because of that whole COVID thing. But I mean, Chris Evans, he's doing this coming off the back of being Captain America, being in the biggest franchise in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the few times I've seen Chris Evans play like a villain, really. Like is there another? I mean, Scott Pilgrim, he's a villain in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, but that's not really. That's not really like.
It's very much a supporting, like a very small supporting part in that first film. Yeah, and he's playing, he's clearly having a lot of fun with the role. Being this smarmy, just prick of a character.
Yeah.
I mean, I think these films are very funny.
That plays into the strength, I think, of. I think what you need for a mystery film, a lot of mystery films that we've been given, often that we're given when it comes to sort of a whodunit or a mystery, it takes itself very seriously, and in rightful respect, it is like a serious idea. But I think some of the best ones, Knives Out, I think would be up there with one of the best whodunits. Clue is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Clue's great. I mean, listen to our podcast on Clue.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that you're able to sort of, because you've got to be able to be a little bit either obnoxious. It's not like you got to be obnoxious with the tone that you're setting. That it's kind of an outrageous like whodunit set in a mansion about an eccentric 85-year-old. Like ultimately end up. Well, I mean, spoilers. You're listening to a podcast about it, but ultimately, I believe ends up just like killing himself anyway. Like, it's and every single family member has a more than valid motive to kill him, and kind of has been plotting to anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the good thing about the film, in terms of how it's structured. It's a very interesting structure because, well, first of all, we see the Christopher Plummer's character he kills, we see what happens very much towards the front of the film. So it's sort of like all this already. And so then it's just question of well, what's going to happen from it? Because we as the audience, we've seen what's happened, or well, rather what we think has happened. It's very much an interesting way to structure things because we you typically don't see that until the end of the film. So it's a solid, the reveal.
The reveals at the very beginning of the film, the main suspect, Ransom, who everyone thinks has done it. But I think it's so powerful that you're able to get so much out of a lot of just his, like Chris Evans' performance as that character. A lot of
Mm.
the dialogue, I think, is written incredibly well, especially for how jumpy a lot of the sort of the story is, like how it can sort of jump between flashbacks and flash forwards. I think it's paced really well as well.
The film does sort of begin with, we meet, several members of this family giving these statements to the police about their perspective of the night, and I like that you sort of get these unreliable narrators. There's like the running joke that no one actually knows where Ana de Armas's character Marta is from. So they just say like different Latin American countries. They say like Paraguay. They say like Brazil, Colombia. Like they say, would just a very run. This film's it's quite dense in a lot of ways, just in terms of like running jokes and like, I wouldn't say motifs, but sort of elements that sort of run throughout the film and the runtime. There's a few different ones, and it's just like it's very the film's very engaging. It always sort of there's never like a dull moment, which can sometimes happen in murder mystery stories. I feel like sometimes they sort of go a bit like they're sort of like, we just have to kill a bit of time before we get sort of the next reveal.
I think, and you mentioned unreliable narrators. It's so important for, I think, especially if you're going for a comedy angle, but for a murder mystery, to be able to just like have no sense of grounding, because it allows the audience or the viewer to distrust a lot of the characters. If that like, there's now a sense of like, okay, well, what's the truth? You're immediately, because you're given four different backstories and all four different tellings of the same story, four different versions of what happened. So now you're like, okay, well, which one's the real one? And I think that's so important. I'm bringing it back to Clue, and we mentioned this in that episode. But at the end of the film, they give you like four different endings that it could be.
Yeah.
And this one gives you four different, startings. Like this one gives you four different beginnings of the story and how it could go, like leading us off with the unreliable narrator. I think bringing that up is really important, because I think that, it like immediately sets the tone for a viewer,
which is good, because it gives you a perspective of like, well, there's no one I really can trust, and it's like, and then we see what actually happened, and we see Ana de Armas's perspective, and then it's like, well, she's almost the most trustworthy to us as like the audience, because we know, like, we've seen what actually happened, which is an interesting way of doing things, because like, as as far as that scene tells us, she got Harlan killed, but she's also somehow the most trustworthy character. It subverts expectations, as you might say.
In any other mystery, she would be the main suspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but because we've seen this, it also sort of like, well, is she actually the one who's done it? Because now that we've seen it, it's like, why would you? Yeah, it gives more questions than it does answers, because then the audience is sort of like, well, you've shown us this, but like so it's an interesting. I like it as sort of a gimmick. Well, not a gimmick per se, but like a narrative framing device. Really, is what I should say, because gimmick sounds a bit insulting. But yeah, I mean, to talk about Daniel Craig specifically, I think he's excellent in this role. I think Benoit Blanc is one of the most interesting original characters we've had from like films in the past, like 10, 15 years, honestly. Like there's like, just in terms of characters that I like and are interesting, and I could just I like that, because he's sort of, because generally with these sort of murder mystery films, the detective is the main character, and Poirot Poirot films, he's the main, Poirot is the protagonist, whereas this
Mm.
Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc is not doing, and helps set it apart from the other films in that genre, which I like.
We'll get into Glass Onion a bit when we do, but yeah, Knives Out especially, it really just doesn't center around him at all, and I think Glass Onion provides a lot more depth to his character. If that was always the plan to sort of continue these Knives Out stories on, which like I understand wanting to have different titles as well. We can get into that overall thing, but constantly just calling it a Knives Out story and the only character sort of going through being Benoit Blanc. Some people don't like it too much. It's okay. I think it's a bit long. It's very Adam McKay early films with Will Ferrell when he would do like, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, or Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Mm.
And I'm like, you've got it. You've got the title in big and bold, and then you add a bunch of like extra. I mean, it's fine. I'm not someone who works in the industry of naming films, but yeah, I think Knives Out solo bold. I think a lot of people connect with that more, but I think it is a lot less. Yeah, like for Benoit Blanc's character, I think like where we get
Yeah.
more of a shown sort of how he operates, but less of like who he is.
Ryan Johnson himself has said he doesn't like that Glass Onion and Wake Up Dead Men had a Knives Out mystery on them. He sort of wanted them to be their their own thing. Like
Yeah.
he wanted them to sort of stand alone, which I do respect as a creative choice, but
How are you going to
um,
market that to people?
yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about the Now You See Me films and how they didn't call them
Fucking, oh my god, yeah.
Now You Don't, which is like the biggest missed opportunity in the history of film names. Like honestly, did when you watch this, did you call any of the twists? Like
When I first watched it,
when you first watched it, yeah. Like, did you know that? Like, did you figure out that she hadn't actually poisoned him, or because I
well,
remember when I saw it, I was sort of like, Chris Evans is so obviously the guy who's done this that it can't be him because it just seems to like I don't know why, but before I watched it, I was like, Chris Evans has done this, but it was weird because he seemed too obvious. It's like, oh, he's the red herring, you know?
yeah, he was very obviously set up to be like a red herring. I think when I first watched it, I wasn't even trying to call a twist. I think I
Yeah,
watched
I
it
mean,
with this sort
yeah.
of with the more intent of like, all right, I want to watch how this plays out. And then
Mm.
immediately I thought it was Chris Evans' character. But then they hammed that on so much as the red herring that it does make you start to doubt whether or not he is the guy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, yeah, he's the guy, not in sort of the way you'd expect him to be the guy that did it, but yeah, he's the guy
No.
that did it.
Yeah, that's the thing is it just seemed very obvious to me is like this is too obvious to
I think
be
it's
him.
I think it's less of a who done it, and more of a how done it.
Yeah, because that's sort of more the thing is like, yeah, how did this happen really? But I like, yeah, no, I do like that. Um, it's not necessarily about why they did it or who did it. It's how they did it, which is a solid, an interesting way to make it stand out from the other sort of films in the genre.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, we've got. I'm just thinking. Yeah, I mean, Anna de Armas. We haven't really mentioned yet. She is basically the main character of this film. And I mean, yeah, this was very much when her star was rising. This was sort of she'd done Blade Runner like a couple years prior to this. I'm trying to see what else she'd actually been in and done by this point. Uh, because she was in No Time to Die because of this, because Daniel Craig said, "Oh, she's good. Let's get her in the next." She'd been in War Dogs, which I've never seen, but seems like something you would have seen. And like,
Yeah, War Dogs with Jonah Hill.
yeah, Jonah Hill and Miles Teller.
Yeah.
That just seems like a
Yeah.
movie you'd have seen and liked.
Yeah. I kind of have I like a lot of Jonah Hill's dramatic performances, but that's just me.
But yeah, I think Ana de Armas is really, really good in this film. She's got that real likable presence, which you need because you sort of like, well, I don't want her to actually have been the one who's done this, but the evidence is pointing to the fact that she did. And I mean, I really like Ana de Armas just sort of in general. I wish she was in better films than she is in generally. Like, I will say that. Like, I wish she chose better films to act in because
I agree. I think, yeah,
a lot of her
think-
recent films have been pretty poor. Yeah, no, I do really like it here. You've got Frank Oz as like the guy who's got the will, who's like reading the will, which is one of my favorite bits in the film. Actually, I really like that sequence. Honestly, that's one of my favorite bits in the film when they're all there to do. And then there's just that bit where they're trying to contest the will, and then there's the bit where she's like the Jamie Lee Curtis. She's like, "Oh, this is our house. This is still our house. God damn it!" And then they just look back, and he's like, "This house belongs to Marta Cabrera." And I was like,
yeah,
"Oh." I
yeah.
was like,
That's
"That's a
the
great."
pacing. Yeah, it's really great timing, especially throughout that sequence.
And I think Jamie Lee Curtis is a really good comedic actor. I think she's a bit of a twat of a person, though, unfortunately, which sucks. The whole Israel Palestine thing, which is just not great. But I think I think she's a very good actor and a very good comic actor. It's just a shame she's a shit person. I got like that's just the biggest problem. Is she's a crappy person, which kind of ruins things she's in which is just a shame. I think honestly the film I want to one thing I want to say about this film is there's so much personality to like the costuming and the production to the film. Like I mean the poster is like the characters in very sort of lavish, brightly colored costuming, which I really like.
I think a lot of the sort of set design as well. I think it's so
Yeah.
well themed and well done.
Yeah, like the house, like the actual house that a lot of the film takes place in is there's a lot of great personality with that set and that and like the costumes but there's that painting of Christopher Plummer's character, which like I didn't notice it but when I first saw it, but like the face he's making like changes just a couple of like throughout the course of the film, and by the end he's like smiling by the end of it. And I think that I love that ending moment where Marta, she's got the house and she's standing on like that balcony overlooking them all, and she's got the cup that says like "My house, my rules" or whatever it says, which I think is just a nice little capping off moment.
Yeah, it's very deliberate, and I think again, Chekhov's gun. I mean, put something there for a purpose, right? I think Knives Out works really sort of well as like especially as like an entry point to I guess the world of Benoit Blanc or Knives Out or whatever you want to call it. This sort of weird structured trilogy. But yeah, I think like Knives Out is a great launching point. On sort of Knives Out, I think unless I give my rating, I think it works really well sort of in that comedy who done it or again how we just discussed how done it. No, again, I think it works really well as a sort of a comedy how done it. It's a great again launching point for this sort of trilogy of films, and yeah, to give it my overall rating, I loved again the best part of this film for me is the performances. And the pacing is really well done. It's a bit over 2 hours
Yeah,
long, but
it's
really
2
well
hours
paced.
long. There's no there's no slow moments, which I do like. I like that it even in the sort of smaller moments where it's like there's not really much happening, it's still engaging. I love that bit actually. One of my favorite bits in the film where Blanc is talking about donuts and like the donut holes, and then is like
Yeah, right. Yeah,
inside of this donut hole is a smaller hole, and I'm like,
yeah.
that's just it because it just seems like when we first meet him, he just seems like this weird southern detective.
He's an incredibly fun character for sort of
Yeah,
yeah, and the chemistry between I think again it work like they bounce off each other really well. He's clearly having so much fun playing in this role as Benoit Blanc. Like, there's a reason he keeps coming back. Yeah, and I think for was Knives Out originally a Netflix produced film?
no, the first one wasn't.
I didn't think so. I know that when we get into Glass Onion, we get into Glass Onion, but I think as a film, Knives Out, a really, really, really solid, like 8 out of 10.
Yeah, same. I give this an 8 out of 10 as well. I had it down as a 9 out of 10, but rewatching it, it's not as.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any negatives about the film? We've spoken overtly positive.
I think that the the film itself, I think that I mean this is kind of true of all the films to be honest, but a lot of the cast is kind of not used that like there's only like a handful of cast members that in all of these films that really feel like they have real character to them.
I
Um
absolutely agree, and especially in Glass Onion, but we'll get to that. But yeah,
but
I
I
think
think that I mean I give it an 8 and I do like it. I like it a lot. I think it still holds up as being it's not as funny as it is rewatching it. Like there are definitely times where I've rewatched like a comedy and I find it much funnier on I still find it as funny on a rewatch, but this one doesn't to me. Like there are some comedies that they're very rewatchable and they're funny like every time I watch them, and sometimes some of them are not as funny on rewatches.
uh, I sort of have a little bit of that with this film as well. That's why it's like not a perfect 10 or a 9. I think there are
Yeah.
parts where it isn't the rewatchability isn't there as much. Not saying that you can't rewatch the film. I still think it's like inherently
Yeah. I
entertaining.
still think
But I just think some things don't land like they do on the first or second punch. And then I also
Yeah.
think that again,
I mean,
some of the
even
characters lack a bit of depth.
And the thing with the sort of some of the twists is like obviously I get that like knowing the twist the film's gonna be different, like knowing the twists. And I think this is that kind of film where knowing the twist you could sort of see more of the details and pick up on some things a bit more. But I mean I give it an 8 and I do really like it.
Yeah, I'm the same with an 8.
Next is Glass Onion. Came out 2022, released by Netflix, and the fucking assholes put it in cinemas for like a week.
I watched it
Even
in cinemas though.
I did see it in the cinema as well. Well, because you lived in the city at that point, so you
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, I saw it at the
Yeah,
Maya Center.
I saw it in the cinema because I was like I kind of because I didn't see the first one in the cinema, so I felt like I should probably see this one in the cinema. And I first of all, I think we've talked about this, but fucking hate streaming services. I fucking
Oh,
hate Netflix.
yeah. Again, well, we've discussed.
But I
I
just
can't
resent
stand
that
the idea of
they
not owning your own media.
and just like put it like not being able to like not putting films in cinemas, even though like these films should go to cinemas because they will make fucking loads and loads of money.
Yeah, Netflix especially, and the fact that they can just rug pull a film or a series could be the whole reason you're paying for the streaming service because you're trying to watch a series and you don't even get to finish it before they just fucking whoop pull it. So I'm like always,
Yeah,
I'm a huge advocate of buying physical media.
yeah. As am I. I've been slowly building up a collection of films that I can, you know, physically own, so I'm not reliant on streaming or anything. But yeah, Glass Onion came out 2022, and I rewatched it for this, obviously. And I remember at the time, people generally seemed to think it was weaker than the first one. I think a lot of people I talked to thought it was weaker than, like, my family. When they watched it, they saw it. They didn't. None of them saw it in the cinema. They saw it on Boxing Day.
Well, guess what? You're talking to me, and I think it's better than Knives Out.
I was about to say, I honestly, the way you were talking about it, I thought you were gonna say you don't think it's as good, and you do think it's a step down.
No, I think it is just as good or better. I think and maybe that's just sort of fatigue from the original Knives Out, and then when I got to watch Glass Onion, it was like something new, and I quite enjoyed it. But I think Glass Onion, it's not without fault. I think the overall story is a lot shallower. Like, it doesn't quite have the sort of intricacies and depth that I think Knives Out was able to do within like a family setting. I think, but I think a lot of the performances here, again, and this is always a shining light, but I think obviously Daniel Craig puts in another stellar. I think Dave Bautista he's like one of my favorite wrestlers turned actors.
As we're recording this, we're getting towards the end of John Cena's wrestling career. And I think John Cena is a very good wrestler turned actor. I think he's very great. But personally, I think Dave Bautista is the best wrestler turned actor. I think he's an excellent actor, and he's trying different roles. He's not sort of just doing like what The Rock does.
He's not being a big muscle brute. This character sort of is, but
he's playing up like being a bit of an idiot, or this whole manosphere.
But I just think, like, if you look at the cast of what we've got at Glass Onion, and then, again, Chris Evans and Daniel Craig and the rest of the cast in Knives Out, Ana de Armas did a great job. And of course, we need like typical beautiful woman. I think Kate Hudson is just like so perfectly over the top for this film in what she needs to be. I think Edward Norton is great. He's that guy that will be that sort of like Edward Norton, just as like almost an actor, gets you sort of like, oh, what's this guy? What the fuck's going on with this guy? In the highest respect, like he plays that. Oh, how would you even describe it? But that just sort of like, you don't trust him. You don't trust his narrative voice.
Again, watching this film, it was sort of like Edward Norton just seems obviously like the guy who's done it. Like, he just seems like something is like, that's just how I felt when I went to see it.
And I think, again, the Glass Onion
in this role. Like, I really like. I think Edward Norton is he's a fantastic actor. And I mean, I think the cast for this film is better than the first Knives Out, honestly. I think, I mean, beyond like the main cast who are like, the suspects and everything, there's fucking so many cameos in this film. We've got Ethan Hawke very briefly. We've got Hugh Grant. You've got people who turn up as themselves, like Stephen Sondheim and Angela Lansbury and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which is just like, the film is stacked. And I heard before I went to see it, there were like a ton of cameos in this film.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of them. So like when Hugh Grant pops up, I was like, holy shit. And I mean, I like Hugh Grant a lot. I think he's a very good actor.
Again, I really think that Glass Onion, not only the performances are so strong, but I also think even in the name, like the name Glass Onion refers to a Beatles song, Glass Onion, which refers to the metaphor that something can seem complex but is inherently just transparent.
Which I think annoys a lot of people, because there's the whole idea of like, it's actually, I was talking to some people like a few days ago. I was asking them like, hey, is anyone gonna see Wake Up Dead Man? And one of them was like, nah, because I didn't really like Glass Onion. And he didn't like this whole idea of like, actually it's so smart it's dumb, and it's actually just dumb, like, which I think is great. I'm a fan of that. I like that, but and I like that. I don't know. I just like this whole idea that Edward Norton has this facade of this incredibly smart, intelligent guy, and then you just sort of dig a little deeper, and he's not. He's a
And it's not even that deep. Like they just sort of they just sort of connect the dots between like the twin sister, and but that's the point of like the Glass Onion, right? Is the idea that it looks inherently layered, and Miles, Edward Norton's character Miles, is like appears immediately as someone who's inherently layered, but is actually just like not very good at what he's doing.
Yeah.
And has the most to lose. And I think that's like a perfect subversion from what we got in the first film, which is someone who seems witty and cunning, and he is. And it is inherently sort of layered. But we do think that he's immediately the red herring, and it turns out to be him. And then again, this is sort of like another one of those. It is kind of that same thing. Like, I'm not going to argue that it's not. The red herring, the guy that we think has done it, has done it. But I think the way they go about it and the tone at which they go about it works so much better. I think that this character Miles is like, he appears cunning, but is just like very clearly not. Whereas I think Chris Evans' character in the first one, Ransom, was the character he was appearing as, and that's why it was easier to sort of pin it on him. Whereas this one, you almost doubt that it's him, and then you're like, oh no, it is him. It's just not nearly as good as you thought it would be. I think that sort of layering works really well for the sequel because, again, it's kind of hard to do the same thing twice. To be able to kind of give the same product, and I honestly think this film takes a lot from the Family Guy episode, and then there were fewer. And I know that sounds outrageous, but the idea that, like, and again, it's the same with Clue. It's the same with almost all whodunits where they aren't like a family, where it's like they invite them all and they all have some connection to the character, and it's all this and it's all that, and it's this person shows up dead and then this person shows up dead. And yeah, I think that it is just like an amalgamation of all these sort of like whodunit tropes, and I love it. Yeah. I love it so much.
Yeah, because these films are real love letters to the genre. Like Rian Johnson clearly has a real love and adoration and respect for the genre, and it's a very he clearly there's like references. I mean, having Angela Lansbury, cameoing as herself, like he's very much known for sort of those kinds of films. One of my favorite bits in this film, it's genuinely one of my favorite moments in any film from the last few years, is the bit where Edward Norton, he sits down at the couch with Batista's character and he hands him the glass, and then like you see it later and he says, oh no, I put it down, and he picked it up, and it's just like Rian Johnson gaslighting the audience, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it works so well.
It's such a, because I saw it and I was like, oh, he handed him that glass. But then the way they, sort of go up, and he's like, oh, I handed it to him. I'm like, shit, did he actually hand it to him? Because maybe he did, and I just wanted to see something that wasn't there, which I think is fantastic. I think that's really, really ingenious filmmaking, honestly. Like, to lie to the audience to their face.
I also love the scene of them like sort of destroying incredibly valuable things that are worth just like a lot of money, and all different sort of tools that can be used to kill. Like, I don't know, and I think that's again another ode. This is another one of these Knives Out films where the set design is just fucking phenomenal.
Oh, it's
I love it, and the setting that they're on an island too works so well.
How did you feel about them referencing COVID and Among Us?
I liked the Among Us bit. I thought that was actually
I thought that was I didn't have a problem with that. The COVID stuff,
because Among Us is a murder mystery, like, but the COVID stuff is like,
and it kind of that. Angela Lansbury. It's just funny
Mm.
to picture however old Angela Lansbury was playing.
But right, like they would
Um,
though, like a bunch of detectives playing Among Us. It's like a bunch of fucking like soldiers
Yeah,
playing Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, it doesn't
fine.
not make sense. Yeah, and I think it's because I know, and there's the COVID thing, which I feel like bothers a lot of people, or a lot of people aren't like that big on. I personally don't really
It does date.
care.
So does the Among
It
Us though, but
dates.
so does like featuring any technology in any film
Yeah,
dates the
that's the
film.
thing. It does date it.
But it's so hard to not date a film nowadays because you have someone pull out a smartphone, and smartphones
Yeah,
change every fucking year. So when you
yeah,
watch a film from 2020, you can tell that it's from 2020. Like,
exactly.
or you
You
watch
can
a
watch a
film from like
film and you're like, oh,
2010.
they've got a
Oh,
flip
they've
phone,
got
you
a
know.
BlackBerry. Yeah, it's
And
immediately dated.
no, I get. So it doesn't bother me really. Like it because
I think it's a
like
nitpick,
it's
is what I think it is. It's
yeah,
like
it's nothing that bothersome to me. Like yeah, genuinely, I don't really have an issue with it.
but are we also supposed to pretend like it didn't happen? Like in cinema,
Yeah,
yeah, I
like
understand that people want
yeah,
to escape from that, but like, how are you supposed to set something in the early 20s
yeah,
and not have
2020.
it, yeah, in the early 2020s, and not feature anything about the fact that, at least in a lot of Western culture, there was a
Um,
completely shifted lifestyle on like how we would have to operate in public
mm,
and in homes and
yeah.
remotely.
And I mean, to be honest, it is kind of necessary because there's like that bit where they get the things for like well, not vaccine, but yeah, so they don't have to wear like the masks anymore.
Yeah, they get the jab or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean that's even kind of relevant because there's that line of dialogue where Batista's character says, "Oh, I don't do pineapple." You
Yeah.
know, so it is kind of necessary to the plot to make it work. So it's like I don't have an issue with it
It's
really.
necessary and it's relevant, and I think it's just a bunch of people trying to deny the fact that, yeah, look, it happened. Yeah, it's relevant to the film, though. Like, I think
Yeah,
that when people
and it
say that
tells us
pretentiously, it's
about
like,
the
it's good.
characters as well. Like it gives us
There's so much depth.
yeah.
Which is what,
There's like Jennifer Hudson, not Jennifer Hudson, Kate Hudson. Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Um, like she doesn't like she wears a mask, but it's like a mesh see-through mask, which I think is funny. Which I think is a
She's
funny
in,
joke.
where she's like incredibly, and well, but yeah, one, that's funny, and two, it comments on her characters, like
Yeah,
priorities, where she's like, I'm gonna look good. I'd rather look good of actually being protected, but also she's dumb. Like she's a dumb. She doesn't understand that it's not protecting her. Like she's vain and she's this and this, and then that's like immediate depth given to a character without having to, do a whole prologue or a whole fucking overview on them. You just go,
yeah.
oh, she's the type of like, and then we get a lot of her. Like again, her character is probably one of my favorite in the film because of like how, again, like over the top she is, and
Yeah, I think she's having
so
a lot of
perfect.
fun. And there's like the bits where she's like screaming and just freaking out because of what's going on. But I mean, yeah, that whole mask it does give the characters lots of character. I mean, yeah, I think these films have got very good casts, and I really like the actors involved. I mean, this one again, it was this thing of like again, it seemed too obvious to be Edward Norton's character. Like that was the whole thing.
Oh no, you're
Um,
right too. Yeah, like it, and yeah, as I said before, it's like they kind of did the same thing, but with like a completely different tone, and or not completely different tone, but like a completely different way process of going about that. And I think that's
mm,
really good storytelling when you're able to kind of do the same thing, but make it entirely engaging in a completely different way.
mm.
And I think it has a higher rewatchability factor as well. I think it's a shorter film, isn't it? It's not as long.
I don't know. Let me check.
No, it's longer. It's 2
I
hours
think
20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's slightly longer.
I don't know. It's maybe it's something about the pacing. It feels inherently quick. It does take a bit to get into it, but once you're into it, it's
Yeah, it does because they need to sort of establish these characters, and it's not as easy as like they're all like family in the way that the first film is. Like these are all very different characters from very different walks of life.
No, I remember watching it in cinemas, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I watched it for I rewatched it for this episode, and I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I think that Edward Norton does a great job. Daniel Craig again as well. I think a lot of the cast
Also,
bounce
we've got
off
to
each other.
mention Janelle Monáe as
Janelle Monáe, of course.
which we nearly forgot to mention. I mean, she's playing two characters here, but you don't know that obviously until I think that the thing with it that the film, yeah, like structural. I really like how it just structures its piece, because it just gives you a lot, and like the way things are structured is like, yeah, we get these flashbacks to establish this character, and there's the setup where Daniel Craig, he calls her, well, Blanc, he calls her. So wait, is Helen the one that's dead, or is that the one
I think
who's
Helen
on the
is
island?
dead, and Andy's on the island.
Okay.
I don't know, one of the two sisters.
Yeah, I don't actually remember which is which.
No, Andy's the one that's died. Helen is the
Yeah,
one that's on the
Andy's the one
island.
that's died. Which I like that. I mean, it's very obvious, like not obvious, but it's like twins is very much a character as just like a structure, as a structural piece. I like it, and it's an
Yeah.
obvious twist. Not an obvious twist, but like it does make a lot of sense once you've seen the film, like, and
Yeah,
revisiting it, because it's like,
and no motive from this character feels like it shouldn't. Like she is
yeah, it doesn't
arguably
feel like.
the driving factor of the film. She's the one who brings Benoit Blanc to the island. It doesn't feel unjust.
Yeah, the film sort of it's this kind of film where, like, the way, you sort of get all these sort of hints to like something clearly happened, and the way they're like, I mean, when Edward Norton sees Janelle Monáe, he's like, it's like he's seen a ghost, because I mean, in his mind he kind of has, because he's killed her and everything. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I mean, I think this film's really funny. There's the Jared Leto kombucha and the um fucking Jeremy Renner hot sauce,
the Jeremy Renner hot sauce.
which is interesting because Jeremy Renner's in the
One
new
is in
one, but
the
we'll
yeah. I
talk
saw
about
him in
that.
the cast list on that.
We'll talk about that in a minute. I really like it. I like I mean, yeah, just the set and like the production design.
Yeah, I agree. I like the sort of motif of the glass onion. I like the rewatchability. I think is a lot higher than the original Knives Out, and again, that's just from me drawing experience with both, so it's a personal opinion. But I think certain things like Janelle Monáe's performance, because she's got to play a character playing a character, which is such a hard thing to do, and because again, it's layered, and she's doing
like
I think
an onion, yeah.
like an onion, yeah. Oh, like an ogre. But yeah, when you rewatch the film, or when I rewatch the film, obviously knowing the twist that she's not her sister and she's the twin, and I mean the twist halfway through the first watch anyway. But when you rewatch it from the very beginning, there are just small subtleties to her performance that you go like, oh, that's so well done. The parts where you go like, oh, it is awkward and it is like, and you start to pick up on those certain things that you will only get with a rewatch. And
Yeah.
I think that's incredibly well done with the film. Again, the film isn't without fault. I think that certain points towards the end, it can almost feel a little like there are parts where it feels rushed and then also dragged out. When he goes like down to the beach and stuff, and I think I'm just like, okay. I feel like we're close to the end, and then they do the big sequence within the main, where he has all these very expensive things. Yeah, burn it down, and I think
Which I'll say, I don't think I like. Not that I dislike it per se. I just don't know if I really.
I don't really think it matters much to the overall film, except it's more of a fuck you to the character. I do enjoy it. I just think that it can drag a bit, and then they're a bit like towards the actual end where he's getting framed. I feel it feels a bit rushed. We don't sort of get that huge dramatic ending because they put a lot of effort and money into all the expensive shit. I mean, that's with like I still think it's overall like a really solid 8 out of 10. I give it the same rating as Knives Out. I probably enjoy it more than Knives Out. Like I can rewatch Glass Onion more than I can rewatch Knives Out, but it doesn't. I don't think that it's like a whole point better.
Yeah, I remember just before I give my rating, I remember
Yeah.
there was the whole thing. Ben Shapiro was complaining about this film because he's a fucking idiot who doesn't understand how movies work, doesn't understand how murder mysteries work specifically.
Did you see his fucking complaints about the Superman film, James Gunn's Superman? It is one of the dumbest videos I've ever seen on the
I've
entire fucking
seen,
planet.
yeah, I think I remember him saying that Clark's parents were like old and like ugly, which I mean, first of all, big talk coming from him. Like, come on, dude. I mean,
yeah,
this 5'4" manlet. Like, come on.
yeah, and yeah, he was a lot of what he was talking
Yeah, I'm trying to
about was
remember
like
what else he. I don't remember what else.
Superman's not supposed to be a pussy. Superman's supposed to be a man, and he's supposed to get whatever he wants, and he doesn't have to. And he's a true American. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Oh, and then he obviously was upset because of the similarities between the Israel-Palestine conflict, which, was interesting because I was like, I remember seeing a lot of Israeli, like Jewish people rather, being like, "Oh my god, they portrayed, and it's like, I mean, Israel is the bad guys." I'm like, I mean, Israel isn't named. Like, this is a fictional country, but I mean,
but if you feel like you're the bad guys in the movie, that says more
yeah,
about them than it does about the actual fucking film.
yeah,
Like you're admitting guilt before you. Anyway,
like it's a very good scene, but yeah, I remember Ben Shapiro got upset over this film. And I mean, he doesn't like Ryan Johnson because of The Last Jedi. I'm trying to remember what he actually said. He said, "I regret to inform you that Glass Onion is actively bad." That's first the actual writing of the movie, followed by the politics of it. Oh yeah, because it makes fun of a rich white guy,
pussy, a rich white political pussy.
yeah, and he's like, "Oh, it's making fun of Elon Musk," and I'm like, "This was made long before Elon Musk really outed himself as a fucking idiot."
Yeah, Elon Musk was still pretty highly regarded at the time of the film. Like he was sort of starting to be seen as a bit of an idiot, but like it was still like he was still that PewDiePie meme review kind of guy. Like he wasn't
exactly.
Like he was still sort of a dank meme anti. He was still sort of like anti-rich, even though he was super rich.
This thing of like I'm just reading a bench very complaining because there's like a misdirect. Like the first half is a misdirect, and I'm like, yeah, that's how these films work, bro. Like, what do you mean it's a misdirect?
Well, I was confused. It's yeah, you're supposed to be.
That's the point, dipshit. Yeah, I mean, I give this one a solid 8 out of 10 as well. And yeah, I prefer it to the first Knives Out, which I feel is pretty fair.
Yeah, I do think that the first Knives Out is maybe half a point weaker, but like that's it. Like I think they're both really solid 8s.
And then we're talking about these films to tie into the release of Wake Up Dead Man, which is, I mean, in cinemas, and I've seen it in the cinema. You haven't. I'm not going to say anything, and I'm not going to even put a rating on it because we'll talk about it in the review of the year episode. But I mean, do you know much, if anything, about this film? Like, do you know?
I know who's in it? I know the cast.
And I will say, when the cast were first announced, I did say this is probably my least favorite cast of any of these films, just because I don't like. I really don't like Jeremy Renner as an actor. I think he's quite shit, honestly. I think Andrew Scott is generally not great. I know people love Andrew Scott because of Fleabag. He's the hot priest and everything, but like, I didn't like him in that, and I don't really like him as an actor in general.
I like Thomas Hayden Church though.
I like, yeah, he's the fucking Verminator, my boy.
The Verminator.
Yeah, he's fantastic in that.
Well, what's that one line? The fucking amphibian. No way. Reptile. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, Verminator.
I like Josh Brolin. I think he's a solid.
He's
always a solid, dependable actor.
I just brought up. I have up the original Glass Onion cast.
Yeah, there were going to be a few people who.
But yeah, no, it says that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in the film, and then he's also in Knives Out, and then
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, he's been in all of them. He's made cameos in all of the.
Oh my god, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt verse. It's actually his trilogy.
Yeah, I think he's been in like every Rian Johnson movie. I think in some like either as a cameo or like it because he's in Looper, he's in Brick. He's in
James Gunn and his brother.
But apparently originally they were going to get Tom Hardy and Lindsay Lohan were going to be in it. But they were not, which I don't know. I mean, I like Tom Hardy. I think he's a decent actor, but he's also kind of boring because people think he's amazing as an actor, and I think he's like fine. I mean, we'll talk about Wake Up Dead Men in the review of the year, but yeah, Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig have both sort of said that they would be more than happy to keep doing these films as long as they keep enjoying doing them. And I would be more than happy to watch more Knives Out films. I would like Rian Johnson to do something a bit different for a while, though, because, I mean, his last two films have been Knives Out films. So I'd much rather he takes some time off and just makes something new and then sort of comes back re-energized to do another Knives Out film. But I think, that's pretty much it. Do you have any sort of final things you'd like to say, Harry?
There's a severe lack of knives in these films. They're used as a murder weapon.
The first one has a big thing of knives.
Yeah.
And then there's no more knives.
I guess like the second one is set in a big glass onion, and that's the name of the film.
Yeah.
So there better be a dead man in this third one, or I'll be pissed.
But yeah, thank you, Harry, for joining me for this week's episode.
Thank you for having me, of course.
But yeah, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.